Hi everyone, Sandra here from the Schwoven's Nest. Today I'm going to show you how I made a topiary farmhouse style with some dollar store items and some of the things that I had just laying around the house. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and click the bell to get notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching.
Here's a view of the items that you'll need for this DIY. The first thing you'll need is some kind of container. I picked this up at a thrift store a couple of years ago and it was just hanging around my house. I thought it would be perfect. This is a larger size styrofoam ball. It was $1.25 at Dollarama. Then you're going to need some craft paint in a color of green that's very similar to the greens that you're using, and a foam brush. You'll need some greenery. I picked this up at Dollarama. It was $2.50 for a strand. It's actually a garland and it looks somewhat like eucalyptus. And finally, this willow expandable fence that has lots of wood sticks. Of course, if you have something in your backyard that you can use, by all means go ahead and source that. Step 1 is to paint the ball green. The reason I'm suggesting to do this is because the greenery that I'm using doesn't have a lot of thickness and you might be able to see a little bit of the styrofoam ball through, and I don't want to put any moss on it first. But that's something that you could do if you choose to. When you open up the willow expandable fence, you'll see that it's all connected and it just stretches back and forth. So now I had to try and figure out how I was going to remove the staples to get the individual sticks without breaking too many of them. I thought the branches would be easy to remove using my pliers and my snips. You see I have those in my hand, but unfortunately after much poking and prying and prodding, I was breaking more sticks than I was keeping, so I decided to use my claw hammer. I have a small one, and that was the easiest thing to do, was just to put the claws in between both of the sticks and just pry them apart that way. So now I have 5 sticks that are all the same length, and I did have to trim a couple of them. I did end up using 6 altogether for the trunk of the topiary tree. To attach the sticks together, I used hot glue at the bottom and the top and then just held it together firmly until the glue was set. I did find that I had to hold the sticks together probably for about a minute or two because they did want to pull apart and the glue wasn't setting as quickly as it does for other craft projects. When you're done, you should have a tree trunk that looks similar to what I have laying on the table. When I do any type of floral craft, I always remove the little stems from the branches. In this case, it was an ivy garland, and so I just pulled off all the pieces, and now I'm trimming off the ends of the stems because those are going to interfere with me gluing the greenery onto the topiary. Once I've got a pile of them started, then I can begin gluing. I'm going to be using hot glue to apply the greenery to the styrofoam, and a couple of tips I can give you is to first put your glue on the styrofoam ball and then use some type of utensil. I'm going to use my screwdriver to hold the flower in place because the plastic does get quite warm. Also, because of the style of this greenery, it was hard for me to get my finger set onto where I was gluing it, so using the screwdriver just made it easier. I'm creating a bit of a pattern. I'm starting at the top and I'm going to place the greenery stems facing downward until I get to about the middle of the ball, and then I'm going to turn it around and start the same way at the other end of the ball, and so all of the greenery leaves meet in the middle. So at this point I've got about half of the ball covered, and you do see some of the green ball showing through, but I will be filling that in with some smaller pieces towards the end. Now I've flipped the ball over and I'm going to continue adding the greenery on this side. Here's the completed greenery ball. You can see that I've filled it in quite nicely, and I've even added some little bits that are sticking out just to give it a little bit extra texture. Now it's time to insert the trunk into the topiary ball, so I'm just using my screwdriver and carving out a hole where I can fit the wooden sticks into. I've got the trunk embedded into the styrofoam ball, and I'm going to secure it with a lot of hot glue. Here's a view of what it looks like with the trunk attached. Now it's time to assemble the topiary. I'm using my container that I had from the thrift store, and I have some pieces of styrofoam that I'm going to hot glue down onto the bottom of the container to give the trunk a little bit more strength and sturdiness. I've also decided to use a glass spice jar where I'm going to glue the trunk of the topiary inside of it and stuff it a little bit with some extra styrofoam just to give it more sturdiness and make sure it doesn't tip over. I'm going to take the spice jar and wedge it in between the styrofoam blocks and make sure that it's standing straight. To secure the tree trunk into the glass jar, I'm putting quite a bit of hot glue at the bottom of it. I thought that would be enough to hold it, but I realized it was still going to tip over inside the jar, so then I figured I may as well take some of the styrofoam and stuff it down in there. It's hard to tell here, but I am ripping off pieces of styrofoam while I'm hanging on to the tree trunk at the same time and just pushing those down into the glass jar to make the tree trunk more sturdy and so it wouldn't wiggle and tip over. To make the tree trunk even more secure, I chose to put some hot glue at the bottom of the container and actually glue the glass jar down as well. Since I didn't want to use all the stones and make it too heavy of a pot, I decided to fill it up with some more styrofoam so there would be a second layer. I put one layer of the white rocks. These were a find from Dollarama. They were $3.50 for a big container of them. But I just put one layer in, and then I decided to use some of the green moss. I picked this up at Dollarama for $3, and I only used a tiny little bit. There's a huge package, so I have lots left over for more projects. I didn't want to lay it down all in one sheet, so I'm ripping it apart in little bits because the next layer of rocks that I put on, I want some of the moss to be sticking through, and it'll sort of look like the moss is growing up through the rocks. Here's the completed project. I love how it turned out. I think it's rustic with a little bit of sweet charm to it. I like how the ball has little bits and pieces sticking out. It makes it look a little flirty and not too uniform. The cutouts on the metal container look really pretty and delicate. The moss really looks like it's just growing up out of the stones. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some inspiration to create a topiary for your farmhouse home. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, click the red subscribe button, and click the bell to get notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching!